Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our capstone presentations for the fall 2018 semester. First up, we have Elizabeth Mongillo, so I will hand control over to Elizabeth.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. Perfect.
Okay. So welcome everyone to PT 642. This is evidence-based physical therapy. This was a course created out of a necessity. This is a statistics course, and it's part of a doctoral program in a physical therapy course. And apparently there were issues. There were a few areas of a diversity that the professor was running into with her students. And the first was that the undergraduate degrees of the students were varied. That means that some of the students were athletic trainers, some of them were psychology majors, etc. So the statistics that they had taken in their undergraduate program differed a little bit. The quality of their prior instruction varied a little bit coming from the different universities. And some students needed time extra time taking tests and quizzes, as well as the varied technology abilities that the students were bringing to the course. So through her observation, as well as student evaluations, she decided that she needed to do something a little different. And lucky for me, she could really think outside the box and was very interested in flipping her classroom. And when I suggested that a portion of the classroom be moved online, she was even more interested in the opportunity. So what we've done is we've kind of split the class in half, if you will. So there's a preparatory portion, which is what you're looking at. So the preparatory portion happens online, but every week the students will still attend the in the classroom portion of the course, which is the lecture piece. Happens every Thursday. This class only takes place in spring semester, so this will actually be launched this spring of 2019. So welcome, and apparently what the professor is going to be doing is sending out an email to all of the enrolled students. Between 60 and 65 students take this course at one time. It is a big course, again, which is why she's very happy that it was moved to an online environment. Having a tutor available for the students wouldn't have been conducive. Finding the space on campus was very difficult, so moving it online and letting the students work on this independently hopefully will prove to be the answer. So she will send out an email and allow the students to preview the course a week beforehand. So this is where they'll land. I kind of call this the home page or the announcements page. And we've left a little message here for the students just to get them started. We do recommend that they pop over and view the course syllabus. So here I've also included a view of the introductory video that I created for her. I did narrate all of the videos for the professor. It really helped her out quite a bit. And I did create an introductory video just to get the students who are not comfortable with working in an online environment comfortable, and I kind of walk them through the menu that you see on the left side of the page. So it takes them through page by page, basically. And beneath that, there is a link, a direct link to the course syllabus. And the professor does refer to the prep class here in the syllabus. She explains how it's going to work. Students will receive a grade, and that grade will come from the vocabulary quiz. So they will be taking a terminology quiz at the start of every lecture. So, you know, this is a voluntary preparatory course. However, if students do not participate or choose not to participate, you know, their grade could be affected. So, you know, the practice that they'll be getting here and the review of the material will only help them. At the very bottom of the syllabus page, I did include a link back to their manual in case they ever needed to refer to that. And then students just jump into the weekly modules. There are 16 weeks in PT 642. Not all of them are actual modules, and I hope you don't find that confusing, but we decided not to name every single week a module. We only named the weeks where the student was working independently a module. So in this very first week, we call this boot camp, and basically the students are going to be meeting in the lecture room. Again, I repeat the introductory video here because during this week of boot camp, they absolutely have to watch this video to get going. And we've also assigned a flip grid down here for this very first week. So they do have an actual assignment. I mentioned that there's 60 to 65 students in the class. The professor is not going to be able to watch 65 videos, but what she will do is she will rely on this first flip grid where students are introducing themselves to help her get to know, put faces to names. And then in future, she will just randomly pick videos to watch just to get the pulse of the class, and then return to the classroom and then make mention of the progress, or if the students are missing the point of the lecture. So that's boot camp. She's also going to be going over her syllabus, and she's also going to be talking about the relationship between the online portion of the course in comparison to the in-classroom. Lecture 1, week 2, Chapter 1 is the one and only lecture that the professor will be giving, the in-person lecture. This is the only one, and what we've provided here is the reading assignment, and we've included their first Quizlet, direct link to the Quizlet. And I just wanted to show you this because I don't know if a lot of you are familiar with using Quizlet, but she is over the moon, so happy with this format, putting the vocabulary here out online. But what it does is, what she loves about it is that students can test themselves, they can play a matching game, they could fill in the blank, they can quiz themselves, traditional flashcard, all of the words I've entered for her, and I've given all of the definitions. So you can see the students they can learn the way they learn best. So they can mix things up for themselves. So she's really fascinated with that. And then I've provided for this first week, again, it's in the one and only in-person lecture. I've included the actual lecture here for students to review it ahead of time. So they can preview it, and they can also go ahead of time and take their concept check. So they could either take the concept check before class or after class. And I've also included slide notes for this week. They're just a PDF. They could print this off and take it to class with them and take notes. So now we begin the modules. So every module is going to include an abbreviated lecture. So I provide the lecture in what we're calling a micro-learning video. And because the students are working independently, I've also offered, whenever I can, video run times. I let them know how many questions they'll be answering in a concept check, how long I believe that would take them to finish. Whenever there is a link included within the PowerPoint video presentation, I do include it below. So that the students just click and it takes them directly to where they need to be to get the information. I hope I'm not rambling. Every week there's a reading assignment. So because this is a review of basic information, the professor really zeroes in on the pages that she wants the students to read. She's trying to make this as focused as she can, so that the students are really gaining the major points, the aha moments we create in the videos, and she wants them just to zero in on certain information to catch them up. But we also do say, but hey, if you have the time, you can read the whole chapter. So, and again, some students come to this preparatory course you know, they're a little bit more advanced, so they might not need to read the whole chapter. Maybe they just need to refresh themselves. And if that's the case, then these are the pages they need to read. So we did try to put a lot of thought into the preparatory course. We didn't want to waste students' time, but we also wanted them to get the most out of it. The professor was wonderful when I had asked her for her goals and objectives. She was very readily supplied me with those for every module. And then as far as the concept check goes, I had mentioned that the terminology quiz is going to be graded. So the vocabulary is approximately, I think it's 15% of the student's grade. The concept checks are not graded. However, the students are encouraged to retake them to score 100%. And, you know, we sort of figured that, you know, offering something where there was no, it was kind of goal-free, I guess is how you describe this. It really takes away the taxing on the student, the stress of, you know, getting a grade. So the students on these questions are able to think a little deeper and with a lot less pressure. I hope that makes sense. But these are not grade value, but they are encouraged to continue to retake for that 100% score. Let me show you, I guess, an actual module. I guess I'll show you module 9. So some modules, she's covering a lot of information. And so I had mentioned that we were mindful of working memory. We didn't want to tax the students. Some of the videos do run a little longer. Admittedly, some of them are 13. I think I have one that's 15 minutes. We did try to break them up. For example, in this module, there are 3 micro-learning videos. However, we did feel that because the students were at different places in their statistic knowledge, some students might fast forward the video. Some may stop, repeat, return, review. So we thought that, you know, offering a runtime would help them manage their time, but not necessarily did the video need to be so short. So really the video was designed to get the point across. Every video I did include a transcript. And this also is available to students who prefer not to listen to the video. So let's just say that she might have students that are not auditory learners and would prefer just to read. So we've offered the transcript, and as well as students who like to take notes, they can jot down their notes right on the transcript if they'd like. So basically, these short videos are a review of the chapter. So it sounds redundant, but basically the students are zeroing in on certain pages. The students are reviewing the vocabulary from the pages that they read. The aha moments we are incorporating into these videos from the chapters. And then students are quizzing themselves and participating in a question and answer that the professor will discuss at the beginning of lecture, and then her lecture will then ask the student to think even deeper. So you can see here that every module does include class time. At the end of every video, I do out loud go through what the students will be working on in class. And she does expect a lot. So if a student doesn't participate in the preparatory portion of the course, you know, they may feel a little lost when they get to the course. She is expecting a lot of interaction with the students. So I don't know, I think that's the majority of what I've done. I guess the only other thing that I did create was a how-to library. I thought that for some of the students who are not familiar with working in an online environment, I would again present my introductory video if they ever needed to review it again. I did create a micro-learning video how to start the video, how to make the window larger, a Quizlet how-to. Students, these are free for students to enroll, but they may not know how to create a user account. So these videos will help them do that, as well as explain what the tools are and what they can do for them. And I did create a concept check how-to. Some students may have never worked, like I had mentioned, in an online environment or taken a quiz or test online. So I think that's all I have to show.
I think it's excellent, Elizabeth. I think you should. You have so much here. I mean,
So I really do. I could take you through. Some of the modules are going to be a little different. Some may have one video. I could play a video, but it's statistics. It's not the most exciting, but it's right now it's in the professor's hands. I do want to mention that I was a little panicked. I thought I might have to recreate this entire course, but what I did was I was able to zip the file, and I have sent it off to the professor. She is going to be uploading it, and she is going to be going through everything with a fine-tooth comb. I've offered to fix anything for her, re-record anything, etc. So she will have the final say.
I think it looks amazing. I have just kind of one question while you're talking about the instructor. How much back and forth did you have with her during the process? Has she seen, like, has she previewed it before giving her the entire zip file?
Basically, everything we've done via email and through the Google Share. And what I would do is I would screenshot for her, or I would send videos as attachments just for her to listen to and let me know if I was on the right track.
Cool.
You know, what was interesting about creating those videos, I took her PowerPoints from spring of 2018, and I tried to, less is more, so to speak, right? That's what we've been learning all along. So I put as little as I needed to on each slide. I can show you those if you want. But and then I asked her to send me transcripts. So basically, what I was doing was reading, you know, her thoughts. So that was interesting too. So for anybody who's going to be working with a professor, that was pretty interesting to do, because I wanted to make sure when you're reading, you don't know if you're emphasizing the right word. Like, where does she want the emphasis? So that was pretty interesting.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, this is an incredible amount of work. I've done this kind of work for a long time, so I know how much went into this. And I think what's really impressive, not just the scope of what you did, but the fact that you demonstrated that you really took into consideration not just the students, you know, you considered the student perspective in so many ways by providing the structured help support for students that might be less tech savvy, and you provided the intro video, and you thought about having the professor send an email to help the students even get into the course to begin with. And also the time, you know, putting those time stamps so that students would know how long different pieces were going to take. But you also took into consideration the instructor's perspective from trying to manage something like this. So your considerations about the Flipgrid video and how she might handle getting 64 videos and what was the best approach to dealing with that. So I think, you know, to me, that's the most impressive piece of this, is just that you really thought about all the different players and how your design choices would impact them. So it's really great work.
Thank you so much.
I was going to say something similar, that I think the way in which you work together with the subject matter expert, the professor, really is excellent. The way you would adapted, used tools that would cater to what she was looking for. And I think it's amazing. I think it's really great. I had just a couple of thoughts. You said that you didn't know if it was confusing to have the module numbers and the different week numbers. I think what your sense is that it might be a little confusing might be accurate, and you might think about, is there another way to call the modules rather than by number? It's like you've got week 10, module B, or
Mhm.
11. So in other words, you're not,
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's a great idea.
just so you don't have a
Yeah.
series of numbers,
Numbers, right. Mm-hmm.
it gets a little overwhelming. And then the other tip that there's reasons to do it this way and there's reasons not to do it this way. But when you put a URL in, like you have them linked to a URL,
Yes.
if somebody has a vision problem and is using a screen reader reads out to them the whole URL. So the screen reader will read to them https / and
Okay.
read it out letter by letter because it's not
Mhm.
words. So the way to avoid that is by making it a link to, like the word says, video, and then you put the link inside the word video so that video becomes a live link, if
Okay.
if that makes any sense. But the reason for using the whole URL is that sometimes if the link isn't working, you want students to have the URL. So it's
Mm-hmm.
to my mind, it's sort of you could argue it either way. But anyway, I thought the whole thing was really great. Oh, I had one other thought, which was it's very difficult for the faculty member to look at 64 Flipgrid videos, but it's
Yes.
also difficult for students because if you have 63 classmates, um, if the faculty member is concerned with creating a sense of community, and
Mm-hmm.
something that we've always thought a lot about in IDN, it's really hard for students to get the sense of community if they can't easily watch all the videos or read all the discussion posts. That's why we tend to break our courses up into sections, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not hard to do that in a
Mm-hmm.
Blackboard environment so that you'd have maybe 4 sections with 15 each. Then each subgroup everybody has only 15 other videos to
Mm-hmm.
instead of 16. So it's just a thought, and I don't know if this professor is going to be amenable to that, but it's one approach.
I think in one or two of the flip grids, I can't remember. I think she did want them to comment on one or two videos, but she wasn't so concerned about the community environment online. Just because when they get into her lecture, she has them doing so much hands-on. They break it out into groups so often in the lecture that
It
that
makes perfect sense.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So.
Kristen, you're muted.
Yeah, I know. I just realized that. Thank you. That was really awesome. And John Ingman works in higher ed, at a university, and he said it's a great example that's really typical of what we see in higher ed and how instructional designers work in higher ed. Does anyone else have questions for Elizabeth? Otherwise, great, like I said, great work.
Thank you very much.
I look forward to hearing, definitely let me know how it goes in the spring too. Get back in touch and, how the instructor finds it to be and how, what the student response is like. I'd love to hear that.
Oh, absolutely. I think she might want to get you involved in a little project too.
All right.
The both
Here.
of you. I think she would like to do a little paper on this.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be interesting to hear how the students respond. So
Mhm, mhm.
great.
Okay.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
And I think both of you have access to this.
Okay,
Yeah, PT
great.
642.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Really well done.
All right, Deb, you are up whenever you are ready. Do I see your microphone? I don't hear you if you are talking.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, yes. All right, so then there's that share button at the bottom of the screen, and if you click that, we can see your screen.
Okay, I thought I did that. Let's see. Let me try again. How about now?
It's not happening yet.
Okay. No, I see you, but I don't see my.
You don't see anything else? When I hover over it, the share button, it says I can also click Alt S in order to share. So if you want to try that, if you can't find, I find that Zoom is funny in the way it presents the screen sometimes. So,
Or Deb, do you have a Mac or a PC? Because there's a different control if it's a Mac.
I have a PC.
Okay.
so Alt S, see if that does it. And if that doesn't work,
Kristen, can you give her the share?
let me see if I can do that. It doesn't give me that option. I can make her a oh, there it goes. It's coming.
Got it?
It's trying. Yep. All right. We can see it. We're good. Thank you, Deb.
Great, 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 great. All right, thank you for being here. Welcome to my project. This is Coding Compliance Workplace Training course. This project will address a process in the military healthcare clinic that can negatively affect revenue and staffing if not performed correctly. The resource will teach providers and support staff how coding compliance is a team endeavor that is affected by their individual jobs. They will also learn to recognize how government computer systems impact coding compliance. The resource was developed for clinical providers, physicians, nurses, corpsmen, and front office assistants and medical coders. This resource is a 508 compliant Adobe Captivate course that is embedded in a secure military learning management system that workers use a computer access or CAD card to open. Only military affiliated workers can access the course with a CAD card. There are currently no other similar resources to assess or compare. This training is important because although Congress allocates funding for military health facilities annually, those funds fluctuate in amount based on the current leadership or the economy. Each health facility reviews productivity performance of providers to justify funding requests. Low productivity directly affects staffing for a clinic. A low-performing clinic may have a physician, nurse, or corpsman reassigned from the clinic as not needed. Therefore, accurate capture of workload is critical to reflect the work actually being done. How compliance is reviewed. Daily reports are posted for encounters not meeting compliance standards. So every day, physicians and their supervisors can see a report with their name on it and the reasons why their encounters are not compliant. So that's a daily bombardment. The audience for this training is adult health providers. The group needs training that is available to them when they have time. The training needs to be limited for time, controlled by the learner, and provide proof of training. Knowles' theory of andragogy or adult learning is applied to address the needs previously mentioned. Multimedia design principles applied to this resource include principles to reduce cognitive load, spatial contiguity, and Keller's ARCS model of motivational design theory related to relevance, confidence, and satisfaction. This resource is designed to assist the learners with resolving a problem, which is important to adults according to Knowles. Dr. Jones is a busy family practitioner who also delivers babies for the OB clinic call rotation. In addition to his full clinic schedule and on-call surgeries, he is inundated with required military warrior training. He is training fatigued and a bit tired, being constantly reminded about coding compliance. He wants to do what is expected, but he needs training that respects his time, allows him to deal with interruption, and trainings that provide him proof of completion for his training record. Dr. Jones has a CAD card and access to the learning management system 24 hours a day. He can securely log into the training with his CAC at his convenience. The training has friendly characters that explain what coding compliance is, why it is important, and what he and his staff can do to be compliant. He can start and stop the training as needed. He can use note slides to jot down important tips for reference later, and there are formative assessments in the training to help him feel confident that he has mastered the covered topic. When he finishes the training, he can print a certificate of completion for his record to demonstrate participation to his leadership. Finally, he can leave the training with an understanding of coding compliance as a process and keep his metrics in the acceptable range. So this is an example of what a note card would look like. So we'll take a look at the project now. or the resource, sorry.
Welcome to the Department of Defense Coding Compliance Training. Please pay attention to the next slide to learn how to navigate the course. Coding compliance involves several processes that are performed by administrative and clinic areas as the patient receives services at a military treatment facility. The basic flow of the patient begins at the front desk, then to the clinic to see the provider, checkout, and finally processing of the billing for the services. Each of these processes impact the timeliness and the accuracy of the billing collectively. If the front desk misses the step of changing an appointment status from pending to kept, timeliness of the encounter is affected. If the provider does not complete documentation and close the encounter with appropriate signatures, timeliness is affected. If the coder does not follow up to close queries quickly, timeliness is affected. Improper code selection that is not corrected by the coder impacts accuracy. Understanding how each area can impact coding compliance will position the team to avoid problems. Upon completion of this course, the user will define coding compliance, identify processes and staff that contribute to coding compliance, recognize how an overseas location affects timeliness compliance, acknowledge DoD compliance requirements. Hi, I'm Haley, and welcome to Bayview Branch Medical Clinic. Today, some of the team members will walk you through a clinic so that you can see some of the processes that impact coding compliance. Another email about coding compliance. What is coding compliance anyway? Coding compliance entails all activities to an encounter from patient check-in until the release of the encounter for payment. Let's check your knowledge. Coding compliance includes patient check-in. True or false? Dr. Jones wants to learn more about coding compliance, so we'll follow his encounter from the beginning through the end. Outpatient encounters have 72 hours or 3 business days to flow from station to station. All activity, documentation, signing, and coding must be completed within 72 hours, not including weekends or holidays. After the patient checks in, they see the provider. The provider documents the visit and signs the record. After the patient sees the provider, the next business day, the compliance clock starts. For example, if a patient has a Friday appointment, the countdown starts Monday and activities must be complete by Wednesday. This rule sometimes confuses providers overseas when they receive 96s or 4-day weekends. The compliance clock is still the same. From the Friday appointment, the countdown starts Monday and activities must be complete by Wednesday. So having the Tuesday off is still considered a work day as far as compliance is concerned. After the coder reviews the encounter, if no query is required for incomplete documentation, the encounter keeps moving after 24 hours to the next station, which is a computer system, CCE, or the Coding Compliance Editor. Let's check your knowledge. True or false? The compliance clock starts immediately after an encounter is closed. At the next stop, the coder reviews the encounter for final accuracy, then releases it for payment processing. Dr. Jones wants to review a few takeaways. My encounter flows through coding, which requires at least 24 hours to code, assuming no query is initiated. A system, CCE, needs 24 hours to transmit the data, and finally, my encounter is released. So that really narrows my time to hold the encounter. The good news is the compliance window is generous since it only counts business days. Now that I understand this process, I think I've got this. To summarize coding compliance involves the combined workflows of a team. The DoD standards for coding compliance are timeliness and accuracy. Computer systems are part of the timeliness workflow. Overseas locations are unique due to additional days off on occasion. 72 hours or 3 business days is the timeliness standard. The coding accuracy standard is 97%. You have now completed the coding compliance training. Please click to receive your certificate of completion.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, that looks great, Deb. Have you shown it to anybody? Has anybody else taken a peek at it?
I've actually used it at work.
You have used it at work. Cool. And
Yeah.
what do people think?
They like it because they don't have anything else available to them. And the providers that tested it, it was 3 of them, they especially liked that it was fast.
Yep.
They don't have a lot of time, and they just really have, all of us have so much training. We have to do at least 50 courses a year online.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. So they appreciate it, and I'm trying to get DHA to adopt it for the entire, all of the services, all the health services, Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine.
Cool.
It's very cool to test it out with actual people who are part of your real target audience. Did they have any thoughts for you? Did they have suggestions? Or sometimes when people actually use your resource, they think of things that you didn't even think of when you were designing.
One of the directors wanted more quizzing. They wanted like kind of like a end of course quiz with more questions on it, maybe 5 or 10 questions. To make them really earn.
I like the little quizzes. I thought that was good. And I think there's actually evidence that little micro quizzes like that are very effective in helping people. I like that. I love the illustrations. And I particularly like that they kind of popped in when you weren't quite expecting it, because there was a lot of text at the beginning. And you're kind of like, okay, so this thing is a lot of text. And then in come these really cute little pictures. I thought that was great.
Yeah, go ahead, Deb.
Oh, I was going to say the actual project doesn't have the text. That was for the benefit of this session to help people understand why I built it the way I did.
No, but I mean the beginning of the coding compliance thing, it does start with some text, right?
Oh, it did. It actually did have some in there. And yeah, that's hard for people. And that's why I decided to narrate the whole thing so that people don't have to sit there and read if they don't want to.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to echo with Ruth. The characters, I think, really are great, and having the different, I mean, they're very recognizable as doctors or as patients, and it just adds like a fun element to it that I think, this topic seems like it could be to the dry side if you just have the text. So I think that the characters were really, and the narration was good. I kind of did feel the same as you said. Someone wanted more quizzing at the end. I like the micro quizzing because I think that it helps to focus the learner, to have them kind of stop and pause and think back, what did I just hear? And like Ruth said, there's research to say that that's effective, but I did feel like at the end I wanted one last, maybe not too many questions, but just a couple questions for myself to check, did I really get everything that I needed to out of that? Or should I go back and watch parts of it again? So that was the only thing I was thinking.
The other thing that I would think you might want to consider is at the beginning of the actual code compliance training, when you do have the narration, which is excellent, and then you also have the text. Don't forget the part that sometimes having the full text and a full narration together at the same time can actually be a little distracting. You might think about having like bullet points of the text because your full narration is it's easy to listen to you and actually have a very pleasant narrating voice. And then if we just had bullet points of the main points of the text, people wouldn't be trying to read and listen to you at the same time. So that's something to think about. It's a possibility. But overall, I really liked it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I felt like it didn't look like what I would perceive military training to look like. So I think that worked to your advantage too, of like I said, making it a little more fun and with the characters, and it helps people to connect with it a bit better, I think. And my only other little piece of feedback was also at the end. I liked how you walked through the different stations that would happen, and I know you did a recap with bullets at the end, but I was thinking maybe a visual that just showed how those different stations, just at the very end, showing those stations that you had identified. You can even reuse the text boxes that you had used within the presentation to show how things flow through. Just one final piece I thought might also sort of tie it together at the end. But overall, I thought it was great. You did a great job. And I'm excited that you're using it in real life. So any questions for Deb? There's a comment, I think. Yes, the animated characters. Everybody loved the characters.
I wondered, did you have to contend with a lot of like military standards as you did this? I guess I was thinking the same thing as Kristen, that it didn't look like what we civilians might assume military training might look like, but you didn't have a lot of, you had a lot of freedom, it looks like. They didn't give you a lot of restrictions, like we'll only use this if it looks like X, Y, Z.
Well, when they go into the learning management system, it looks very military. It has all of the things telling you that this is going to be monitored. All of the military stuff is in the learning management system when they log in. But as for content of the course, they give you flexibility with the content as long as it covers what they need.
Very nice.
It's kind of interesting tonight to hear the different perspectives of the way that, instructional design plays out in different fields. So thank you for sharing, Deb.
Thank you.
All right, Latoya, you are up if you are ready. We've had some more people come in, so we have some an audience as well.
Oh, cool. Hello. Okay, let me share my screen. Can you hear me well?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, great.
And it's coming, and I see it, so you're good.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Hi, I'm Latoya, and welcome to the Intro to Computing course for Power and Praise Fellowship Incorporated in Bloomfield, Connecticut. And this is a church in Bloomfield that's under the leadership of Pastor Maurice Pipkin. And, oh wait, hold on. And Pastor Maurice wanted a course for adult learners that enables them to learn about computing. They're novice learners. They may not have been exposed to computers and they're seeking career changes. And so this course provides an introductory of computing for them. And the entire course has 4 modules. And these modules work together to enable them to have a certification exam at the end. And so let me play this. And Daryl on the right, he's kind of the TA assistant. Wanted to give like the corporate feel for the students. It's an instructor-led course. And they're in a classroom setting, so there is no narration, but I included additional, I included Daryl as an additional kind of motivational character for them. Eventually, I'm thinking the course could probably be placed online, but for now, the course is definitely going to be in a classroom setting. And so there's 4 different learning modules, and the learners are able to receive that certificate. And This presentation only highlights Module 3 because it's kind of an extensive course. And so Module 3 will be Internet Tools and Technologies, and that's the course that I'm going to highlight. So I'm going to click on Internet Tools and Technologies. And so in this module, the learners will define internet and search tools, understand and use Google Drive technologies and related apps, and identify and prevent potentially harmful internet and email threats. And so the idea from the previous two modules is that they have an understanding now of computers and how to use computers, different factors of the internet, wireless versus wired connections. And so they have that basic ground understanding to now move on to this module. And also I included like a small table of contents link. And so it will just show, you know, the instructor will be able to see that for now. Hold on, I think and so I included a small YouTube video, it's a short video that just kind of highlights from code.org that highlights what the internet is. And I also included some terminology for the learners to refer to as they watch the video. And that's just a quick overview of what the internet is. So it composed of the internet, the World Wide Web, the concept of the web page, what a website is, what a browser is, what the search engine is, and there's an additional video. And all the videos that are included are really short videos, about 3 to 5 minutes. And so these videos are act as a resource, additional resource for the students to watch while the instructor reviews that terminology with them. And here I included a demo, a live demo of using Google search. And so I use an example of an administrative position and how they can search through that. And also searching through a site like Indeed. And so this simulation just gives them an idea of how to do that. Hold on, my computer is a bit. Hold on. I'm sorry, I'm having my computer's acting a bit slow. I'm having some difficulties, but I'm not sure if you can see it on your end. But here is the Google Drives and Apps part of the course, of the module. And is also a small video of computer basics and what the cloud is. So the class will view that video first and see, okay, what is the cloud? I also included a definition of what the cloud is, which is a live remote environment that enables storage. And so they have that idea of what the cloud is. And then I go into Google Drive and the apps that are associated with it. And so here's also another quick video. Hold on, let me see if I can show it. I'm sorry, my computer is freezing up. Oh, come on. I'm not sure if you can see it running from your end. Hold on. Okay, there you go. And so the students will watch this short video first, and then they'll also have an infographic that I created for them to have like a quick overview of what the main apps that they will use. So there's Drive, Gmail, Slides, Docs, and Sheets. And after this, I completed a quick knowledge check of what are 3 of Google's cloud applications. And so here, submit the answer, and they'll have that as it's kind of like a group setting, so they'll work as a group. And the instructor will say, hey, what are the 3 what are 3 of Google's cloud applications, and they'll kind of complete that knowledge check as a class. And finally, there's the module for, the part of the module for internet security, and it just goes over different tools and tips for preventing attacks from phishing or hacking, or like once they access the email, then you start using Google and searching the web. I included a link here of an infographic that was really helpful. I'm not sure if you could see it from my end. But the infographic shows.
We can see it now, Latoya.
Oh, okay, great. So the infographic just shows out what to look for: email phishing, different concepts. So the instructor with phishing, which is voice phishing, smishing, which is SMS text attack. So it goes over different concepts for the students to learn, that the instructor will overview with them. And then there's internet security for password and data protection. And so here it just highlights a checklist of what to do for the students. Do not use passwords based on personal information. Do not create simple sample passwords like ABC123. And I included additional knowledge check. It is okay to use your name or date of birth in your account password. So they'll answer true or false. If most of the people in the class say, hey, it's true, and the instructor says, oh no, try again, it's not. It's really false. So just a quick knowledge check for the students to do as a team. In closure, the course highlights what the Internet World Wide Web are, just 4 main points of the course. And these buttons just go back as a reference, just in case like the instructor with this would go over the terms, and if they had any questions, he or she can go back and click on the button, and it will bring them back to the part that maybe the students need to review in class again. So it's kind of like a review and parking lot area for the students. And then finally, the course ends with a lab assignment. And so the students will create a professional Gmail account, create a Google Drive account, create a short CV and docs, and a reference list and sheets, create a presentation and slides, and save all the photos in Drive. They'll search for jobs in Google Chrome and Indeed.com and email favorites. So the whole basis of the training is, of course, to help them with jobs and applying, and so the lab will focus more on that aspect. And then the lecture was to give them the information on how to utilize those resources collectively to help them in their search. And that is my course.
Latoya, I just have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a face-to-face class.
Yes.
And then are there students using computers, or the instructor has sort of a computer and a projector and is sort of leading the class?
Right. Yeah, the instructor is leading with a projector. So they'll actually use that Captivate project and project it to the students and follow along with them throughout the classroom.
So initially when I was watching, I was thinking, well, wouldn't it be better if they were doing it on their own? But then as you spoke, I thought, no, I like this because these are people with very little experience in computing. That's why they're taking the course. So by having the instructor sort of guide them through it and do it for them, which in general, we often like students to do things themselves. But in this case, having the instructor do it for them and take them through is kind of reassuring, I would imagine. It's sort of a good way to get them started.
Right, correct, yes. And so that's the approach that I thought was best to take, with such novice learners. Yeah.
Do you think are there computers available to them at the church?
Yes, they actually had a whole room. They have a whole room set up with about 10 computers at the church.
Have their own computer or two people on a computer or something like
It looks right now, it looks like two people will be at a computer.
Yeah, I agree with Ruth. I think with your target audience, it makes sense to walk through the presentation, but it also seemed to me like you could easily put this online and have it available for maybe people who couldn't make it or people to review later, because a lot of it was designed from sort of an online self-paced perspective.
Thanks.
I had a question now, I can't find it.
I'll just jump in while you're
Yep.
looking. One thing you might think about, you're actually going to use this course, right?
Right, yes. So they want to start the course around April of next year.
Very cool. Some of it is maybe a bit text heavy. You might want to just look through and see where you can simplify some of the text so that there's less text on the page, because if the people are a little computer shy and it's a lot of information to take in, really, when you think about it, people who do it every day don't even think about how much knowledge there is in trying to teach somebody the basics. So you might just want to make some of the actual text just shorter and simpler so that it's not off-putting
Right.
for novices.
I think especially since you have someone there in the room who can narrate and add in more, more information and detail. I think my overriding comment was that I think you took a lot of information and really put it in a well-organized and clear to follow format. And, the chunking of the different topics. And then I really liked how you had the table of contents. So again, whether it's facilitated and you have someone standing at the front of the room, or if a person's doing it on their own, in both of those cases, you might want to quickly jump to a part of the training. If someone has a question and they need to go back, to have that table of contents makes it really easy to access, specific pieces of the presentation. So I think that was useful. I could see after in like the lab portion, while they're walking through some of the different assignments, again, the facilitator needing to go back to a specific area. So I thought that made a lot of sense.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
And John has a comment for you.
Oh.
I don't know if you can see the chat.
Let's see, I can read the chat for you if you want. He said, it's great. It looks like a great service for the church and gives students a chance to start building knowledge in a fun way. I love that you have a figure that is present throughout the course. I felt the same way. I think it was Daryl, right? I wrote it down. I think it, again, it makes
Thanks,
it makes it just more approachable and nice to have somebody sort of there as a guide. So I like that touch as well.
Is Daryl clip art, or did you take photographs of Daryl, or you found Daryl?
Oh, that's an asset they have on they have the asset downloads on Captivate.
Yeah. He seemed like a nice guy.
Yeah, I liked his picture. I was like, oh, he seems really welcoming.
He looks trustworthy, yes. So yeah, I think, again, this gives us another example of a place where instructional design can be applied, at a nonprofit to kind of do this type of community work. So I think it was nice to see the diversity in the projects tonight. Very cool. You all did a great job. And so for Deb and Latoya and Elizabeth, this is, pretty much the end. We have you submit your projects in Blackboard, and there's a little reflection piece that we'd like you to do in the discussion. But other than that, great job, guys. You did really well this semester and throughout the program, and it's been great getting to know you and seeing your work really develop over the past, year or so. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for those of you who attended tonight to watch as well. I think it's always great to see, we have some alumni here who've already graduated, and we also have students who are coming up on Capstone shortly, and we have a student who's just getting into the program. So, I think this gives you a good sense of the different types of projects that we look for in the Capstone, and also really the scope of what we're looking for you to develop by the time you get to the end of the program. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. Any parting words of wisdom for us, Ruth?
No, everybody did very well. And I really enjoy these because it's really fun to see you guys. Like Deb, I've talked to you a lot of times on the phone, but I don't think I've ever Skyped with you, so that was kind of neat. Latoya and I tend to Skype more. And Elizabeth, I've never Skyped with you. And actually, we didn't really see you tonight, did we? We just saw you. Elizabeth is still a mystery woman to us, but that's okay. Anyway, you guys did great, and I really enjoyed it. And thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys, and good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much. Take care. Happy holidays.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
guys too. Thank
Have a
you.
great holiday. Thank you, guys.